climates. They don't like very, very hot or very, very cold climates, but they sure do like San Diego. So we have a great opportunity here. There is a commercial market for them, and we do have a commercial, what's the word I'm looking for?
Grow it.
Pardon me?
Grow it.
No, commercial crop for cherimoyas up around Santa Barbara. They are growing quite a few acres. Anybody know how many acres are growing up there now? What is the Cherimoya Association list as far as total acreage? Anybody know? Several hundred acres, I think. But, I'm not sure how many acres. I remember when they first came into town and they were selling for $3.50 a piece easily. I just heard wind of a cherimoya that is going to become available that averages about 4 pounds in size. And that's a new variety that Laverne Nursery is going to be releasing here soon. That sure would be fun, a 4-pound cherimoya. I don't think anybody would argue about having one of those. Spain is a very large cherimoya, as are some of the others, but we'll talk more about cherimoyas here in just a little bit. We have a panel discussion planned for you and some other things that will hopefully get you up to speed on cherimoyas and get to enjoy their intricacies and nuances of cherimoya fruit. Before we get started tonight, I once again would like to thank all the people who have been spending their hours and time and efforts to make this meeting and all of the events we have going on with the rare fruit growers happen. The fruit we will be enjoying tonight was largely due to the efforts of several of our members who went up to the South Coast Field Station and collected fruit and collected scion wood and took the time out of their busy schedule to go on up and collect both for our meeting tonight, and thank you very much. I'll let Jim introduce who those people were. He really was in charge of the event tonight, and besides having our cherimoya tastings, we are also going to have an auction for a multi-grafted cherimoya tree. And that's really a very unusual thing to find, a tree with different varieties grafted onto it. Great opportunity to get a good tree like that. And we'll have some evaluations as well for those who would like to participate. They are asking for a donation to help with the cost to go up, gas to go up and get the fruit and all the effort that they went to. The proceeds will go to the club, so that's great for us here. Also new for the club tonight, we have Dave Archer from Bonita Creek Nursery here. We have a wonderful display of dried and various fruit that are brought in by some of our vendors. I'll let them tell you who they are in just a moment. And with summer coming up ahead of us, we also have an opportunity to get some very nice sun hats or straw hats that are UV protectant. You know, a lot of people down here in Southern California, San Diego, have to be concerned with ultraviolet radiation and skin cancer issues, and it's good to have a nice sun hat. People are always asking me at Home Depot where to get these, and we don't sell them. But here we have an opportunity tonight to pick them up, and we will see more vendors coming to the meetings with things that you might be interested in. If you do have things you would like to see at the meetings, please contact our Ways and Means Committee or put notes in the suggestion tree box, and we'll be glad to bring those in for you. So tonight, what I would like to say is welcome to everybody to a great evening and a great opportunity. How many of you are new to the club tonight or new to the meeting tonight? Do we have any first-time comers here tonight? Great. Would you like to just introduce yourself briefly for us, just to say hello and give everybody a chance to know who you are and what area of town you live in?
Kirk Jorgensen. I live in San Marcos. I have a cherimoya.
Does it produce?
Not as big as some of those.
Welcome. Well, they grow looking like an Espalier, but I don't know if they're the best choice. However, they can be done. So. Anyone else tonight? Excellent. Welcome. Well, hopefully you'll get to eat some tonight and have a real good experience. Anyone else? Well, welcome to everyone. I hope you enjoy the meeting tonight, and I hope you enjoy the activities and the things we have to offer, and we'll see you here in the future. I would like to ask if there's anyone, the committees we have formed are underway. Our hospitality committee has met you at the door and is now offering name badges for sale. If anyone would like to get a California Rare Fruit Grower name badge, we would encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity. The name badge, if you wear it to the meetings, do give you a free opportunity raffle ticket. And so you get a free ticket for wearing your name badge, from which you can participate in our opportunity drawing and get a chance to win one of these wonderful plants that the club members have brought in. Tonight we have some really exciting things up there. We have a very nice banana. What variety of banana is that?
Ice cream.
Ice cream, look like an ice cream. We have a Vietnamese guava. We have a wonderful goji berry up there that's very, very nice. Touted as one of the highest antioxidant valued fruits in existence today. We have some other very interesting things, pineapple and a white sapote and loquat and dragon fruit. So lots of great things up here on the table to take advantage of. If you'd like to participate in the opportunity drawing, please see Gustavo, and he will be glad to sell you a ticket. And once again, the proceeds go to the club, and those funds help make events like our tasting tonight happen. So that's a great opportunity. Are there anyone from the hospitality or other committees that have announcements they would like to make to the group regarding their committee or anything they would like to mention? No? Yeah? Yes. Yes, Jude.
I would like to remind everyone that the second Saturday of the month, we have the work party, 12 and 12 flyers, and we able to identify them. And also we had a fruit tasting table. Well, actually it was more for display, but we did take a few things at the third festival at 12 last week. And I think they're only North County. But it was some trying.
Thank you, June. It's a great opportunity to go up to Quail and see the wonderful fruit trees they have up there, and we hope to get a listing of those fruit trees put to our website so that people can know what's in fruit. Some events that have been happening, well, we just had several events. Community Outreach has participated in several events, including at the Cuyamaca Xeriscape Garden. They had their annual festival, and we were represented there by our Community Outreach group. We also had a great opportunity to participate in. Eric, you want to come?
Sure.
Thanks. Yeah, we had our event this past Saturday at the Cuyamaca Xeriscape Gardens, and it was a great time. For those of you that are new to the group or somewhat novices like me, it's a really great way to get to know a lot of different people and to learn a lot about fruit. You know, people come up and ask you all kinds of crazy questions. Kind of forces you to learn the topics. So good way to get involved with the group. And we have an event coming up on April 10th at the Ramona Spring Garden Tour and Plant Sale. And we still need 1 or 2 volunteers. So we have one shift from 9 a.m. to noon and another one from noon to 3 p.m. So if anybody wants to volunteer, please see me after the meeting. And that's a lot of fun. Oh yeah, we have fruit tastings too. So we had a cherimoya this
Take care. If folks are going to any of these events and happen to talk to the vendors there, participants there, if they would be interested in coming to our meeting, if you pick up a business card from them and turn it over to Paul Fisher with Ways and Means, we would love to have them here. Andy is not here this evening, but we did have our first planting at Southwestern College, and we put in about, was it 12 dragon fruit in honor of Paul Thompson. We started our dragon fruit collection, which will be dedicated to Paul, as well as many other fruit trees. There will be ongoing work parties at that event. A couple of other committees are underway as well. Actually, all the committees are underway right now. And I have a letter from David Long, who is in charge of the Philanthropy Committee. The Philanthropy Committee, for those of you who are not aware, is a committee dedicated to developing a plan for the use of the Paul Thompson Endowment, which he left to the San Diego chapter of the California Rare Fruit Growers. The committee had their first meeting, and unfortunately, David Long, who is the chairman of the committee, is not able to be here tonight, but he did ask that I read a letter to the group, and so this is what David had to say, and I'll read it for him in his absence. It says, the Philanthropy Committee had its first meeting on March 9, 2010. Our directive is to make sure the wishes of the general membership and Paul Thompson are carried out in what we do. We want to present the board with good ideas, and it is to that end that we will work through all the different possibilities. Some questions to the group that were asked is, do we invest the money in projects that create revenue to build up the fund? 2, do we chisel away slowly at the principal or grants, grants, scholarships, and promotions until it is gone? CDs have very low interest rates, and it's difficult to use the interest only without touching the principal when there is little or no money guaranteed. This also would have little impact on both the recipient and the chapter. He states that these are not easy decisions to make, and again, it needs to reflect what the chapter is willing to do, how much effort we are willing to provide to build up the fund. There is lots of participation by people, many things can be possible. He states, we will be looking at everything, and it is your ideas that we want. If you have thoughts and suggestions on how to put this money to use, please write them down and put them in the idea tree or email them to David Long. This will be an ongoing request so we can find the best ways to utilize the gift. The suggestion tree, for those of you who are new or haven't seen it yet, is that funny looking little thing in the back of the pillar there. The suggestion tree is our version of a suggestion box. But as we hope the club will grow, I thought a tree would be more appropriate than a box. We don't want to bury it, we want to help it to grow. And if you have ideas or suggestions for the Paul Thompson Fund or any of the other things that go on at this meeting, please feel free to write them down and put them in there so that we can get them to the appropriate people or chair people.
I'd like to introduce a few people, but I can do that.
All right. What we are going to do next then is we will be having a panel discussion here. What I'll do is take about 5 minutes. I'm going to show you a few slides that I brought with to get people familiar with cherimoya and pollinating, and then we will have Jim introduce our panel to the membership, and they will come up here and discuss their feelings on cherimoyas and answer any questions from the general membership. So, anyone have anything else they would like to mention before we start tonight's program? The fruit tasting will come after the program, and we'll give you the rules for that as soon as the program is over, but all those fruits sure do look good from here. And we'll get started tonight then right away. And we'll start from, one last note is that if you find cherimoya that you really enjoy and would like some scion wood to graft onto your trees at home. If you have seedlings or if you have a tree that you would like to add varieties to, the folks that went up to the South Coast Field Station did bring back a very nice selection of Cherimoya scion wood, and they are making those available to the membership. They are asking for a donation of 50 cents per scion to help pay for the expenses of going up there and to help give back to the club some funds so that we can have other fun events happen. So if you'd like to get some scion wood of these different Cherimoya varieties, John Verdick is back there getting them prepared, and he'll have those available for you at the break. Can I just snap a couple of the lights down? Just a quick picture of cherimoyas. They're pretty big trees. If you let them grow on pruned cherimoyas, you can get about 35 feet tall, about 25 feet wide. Hit the one side over here. Put the back ones on. Turn the front ones off. Very fast-growing trees. They can grow at rates of 4 to 6 feet a year without much difficulty, and so they can get out of hand very, very quickly unless you prune them. And cherimoya are very tolerant of pruning. They have a rather unusual growth cycle with cherimoya going through the wintertime with a full canopy of leaves. And they go dormant in March and April, typically. They're going to start losing their leaves right about now. They haven't already, and by another month, they'll be completely naked. This really concerns a lot of people because everything else is starting to grow. They're budding out. They're starting to put out flowers and leaves, and your cherimoya are losing all of their leaves. And we get calls all the time, my cherimoya is dying. No, it's not. It's just going into its dormant state, which is very short. They only lose their leaves for a brief period, normally not very long at all. They can be kept down with pruning. You can keep them down to about an 8 to 12 foot tree without a lot of difficulty, but they are very fast growing, and you have to keep after them if you don't want them to get out of hand. Once they lose the leaves, the first thing that comes out on the bare branches are their flowers, soon followed by the leaves. An abundance of flowers are produced. They have many, many, many flowers and bloom for a good 2, maybe 3 months, depending on the area in which you live. They produce flowers at each leaf node or bud. The actual bud is underneath the leaf petiole or the stem of the leaf. So you don't see the flowers until the leaves fall off and they begin their growth cycle, when the first thing that comes out of the buds are the flowers, soon followed by the leaves. Here we can see the cherimoya flowers with the 3 petals. The flowers on the far right are closed. They just open up. This one right here is brand new and just getting ready to open. When the cherimoya flower is mature, it goes through its life cycle in about a 36-hour period. The first thing the flower does is separate the petals, and for the first half of the day, the female functions as a female flower. It's at this stage that the flower is receptive to being pollinized. And we'll see a better view of the flower in the female stage in just a moment. By the middle of the day, the petals are half open.
and the flower is beginning to switch from a female to a male flower. The female portion of the flower is starting to dry out and is no longer receptive to be pollinized once the stigmas, which are the female receptive portion of the flower, are dried, and the male portion of the flower, or anthers, are just beginning to shed their pollen. By the next stage, the petals have completely collapsed, the flower pollen has been shed, and at that stage, the flower has either been pollinized and will turn into a fruit, or it will fall off and you'll get nothing.
What's the normal pollinator?
The normal pollinator in Chile, which is where they are native, is a cocophilous beetle. There is some pollinization that occurs by ants and other small insects, but not to a large degree. Here we can see the flower, which is now in the half-open stage. It's the stage in which,
It can also be pollinated by Homo sapiens.
yes. And in San Diego and most parts of California, the normal pollinator are humans. Absolutely.
Tom,
Yes.
I've had 2 trees, light and fruit, and no need of pollination.
Yeah, we will talk about that,
I
Ralph.
think the wind can do it.
No, wind does not do it. It has some pollinating on cherimoyas have to do with the female stage remaining receptive long enough for the male stage to mature, shed pollen onto the female receptive flower. It's largely a factor of humidity, canopy, weather conditions out here. But you know, the reason why your cherimoya of a Booth variety or Spain is self-fruitful where you are at is because of your microclimate or because of the year. Here we can see the cherimoya flower switching from the half-open stage where the female stage is now entering into the male. And in the view here, this is the stage that you want to hand pollinate your flowers. So when you're going to go hand pollinate, these are the flowers you're going to hand pollinate.
How long does it stay like that
Each flower lives for 36 hours.
in the pollination stage?
Well, when it first opens until about midday. How long depends on how hot and how dry it is. The hotter and drier it is, the shorter the life of the female stage of the flower. If it's a nice, cool, overcast, humid condition, it'll stay longer. And on the coast, the flowers usually stay in the female stage longer than they do inland. Here you can see the flowers which have completely collapsed. This is at 36 hours. They will now either turn into fruit or fall off. How do you hand pollinate cherimoya? Well, this is probably the most widely accepted ways of pollinating cherimoya. It's not real technical. You need some very sophisticated equipment, being a little artist paintbrush, and a small film canister or other small canister. You can see the pollen in the bottom of the container here, very fine, very small, hard to see on the plant itself, but against the black container, pretty easy to see. We look at the flowers, the little cone right here in the center is the female portion of the flower. When the stigmas, which are the pollen collecting hairs, are creamy, whitish green and shiny, they kind of glisten in the sun, they're receptive to being pollinized. And they will collect pollen, carrying it to the ovaries and turning them into a fruit. Those stigmas dry out, however, and when they dry out, they turn brown and they're no longer receptive to being pollinized. The male portion of the flower occurs on the anthers, at the base of that female portion of the flower, and those are the pollen-holding portion of the flower. The 3 fleshy petals. And this is the male stage of the flower. And how long does it last, guys?
Several days.
24 hours.
Several days, George?
Yeah.
Is that at room temperature or in the refrigerator?
Or at least I always put it.
In the refrigerator, it'll remain viable for several days. This is the female stage of the flower and what you're going to go out and pollinize. So you collect the pollen in the flowers in the afternoon, put them in a little container, leave them overnight, take that container and your little artist paintbrush out to the tree the next morning and find flowers in the female stage. When it's in the female stage, and this is a little fuzzy, and I apologize, but this is the female portion of the flower. That's where you're going to apply the pollen. And down here you see the anthers, which have not yet opened. They don't look fuzzy. In the male stage, they're brown and fuzzy. In the female stage, they're held tightly to the base of the flower, and they're not visible. There is no pollen released in this stage. That's why you need to apply it. What happens is that, and the reason why you need to pollinate is because a lot of times these female stigmas dry out before these male anthers open up and shed their pollen. So you're helping them out, you're bringing pollen to them while they're still in the female stage. You're going to take the little canister of anthers and pollen and your paintbrush, and you're going to go out, dabbing your paintbrush into the pollen, apply it to the center of the flower, pushing the paintbrush all the way to the base until you actually are applying pollen to the stigmas of the flower. Give the paintbrush a twist and you're done. Takes all of about 2 seconds.
I've had some experience of just taking, when in the female stage, taking one of the petals off, and I use part of that petal to scrape some of that pollen, and I stick it on there, and I leave it.
Sometimes that works.
So I just use the same flower, and I just rip off one of the petals, pull it down, put it on the cone, and then just leave it, and a lot of times it'll pollen.
Okay, so Wayne's saying he just takes a flower, breaks off some of the anthers, puts them on the stigmas, and leave them.
Right, I take one petal off and use that same petal as the instrument to pull it off, and put it on it, and that's it.
Once they are been pollinated, sometimes people will break the petals off to know which ones they've hand-pollinated. So then go back and do it again. I find if you don't break them off, petals will either fall off and you'll have a fruit by the next day anyway, so I don't know how important that is. And that's what you get. A well-pollinated cherimoya is very symmetrical. Some of them have little knobs or protuberances. Cherimoya can vary considerably in their appearance. Some are fairly smooth with thumbprints and little nipples. Others are very, very knobby. And these knobs can break off easily in shipping. So commercially, you don't often see the knobby ones in the market, but some of the better varieties are very knobby. You'll also get knobby fruit and smooth fruit even on the same tree. Just some different cherimoya. You can see these in the front have little rounded knobs. These have more thumbprints. Different shapes, different sizes, some very smooth. Commercially, what they're generally looking for is the smooth varieties, which are less easily damaged in shipping.
How do you know when it's right?
You know cherimoya are ripe, as you see in this photograph, when they go from the dark green to that yellowish green stage. At that point, they are mature. They're normally picked off the tree hard, but mature. And then they will ripen off the tree, usually within 3 to 5 days, 3 to 7 days.
Peter Nichols up in Harlem used to say that you pick it 7 days before fall.
Cherimoyas are generally cut off the tree, not pulled off the tree. They leave the little stem attached so that it prevents injury to the fruit. Very smooth varieties, and this is what you get. You don't eat the skin. There are hard black seeds inside that you do not They're scattered throughout, but a well-formed cherimoya depends on those seeds to develop a nice symmetrical shape. When ripe, they are the texture of a ripe peach. They're smooth, they're creamy, they are juicy, they are extremely flavorful, and they are wonderful to sample. If you get tired of eating fresh cherimoyas, they make wonderful things like cherimoya cream pie. It's wonderful. Cherimoya daiquiris are a real delight. Virgin or not? Yes.
I'll give you an idea of ripeness. The majority of the fruit that you're going to sample tonight was picked from the tree 1 week ago today. So you'll see some of them are not quite ripe, and some of them are probably on the older side. So that'll give you a way to judge it a little bit.
All right, so that is an introduction. We are going to ask Jim to introduce our panel and open up the meeting to a discussion on cherimoya.
You want to hit the lights back there? Okay, before I do that, Kevin both asked me to announce that the people that are supposed to bring in goodies for the next meeting, it's K to O. You remember KO, boxing term. That'll help. That way everybody has a chance to donate, contribute something to the fruit and goodie table. Also, I would suggest that you plant some of the seeds that you acquire tonight, because cherimoyas grow readily from seeds. Just plant them right away. In the last issue of the Fruit Gardener, K to let me see, it's March and April. There is an interesting article with photographs and so forth that give you a feel for the Annona family. You might want to check that out. I was going to do a blurb, but I don't know if we'll have time tonight for that. Let me introduce George Emmerich. George is responsible for planting these 80 trees or so, well, a good portion of them anyhow, out in South Coast Field Station. That's near Anaheim, right? Irvine, I mean.
Right behind El Toro, Navy base, air station.
Cielo drove us, let me see, Gustavo, where's Gustavo? Gustavo, myself, and John out to the South Coast Field Station, and we were so busy checking out all these cherimoyas and alamoyas on the ground, tasting some. Pretty soon we're tasted out, and we're just trying to gather so that there would be a representative sample of the different varieties up there. There's some duplicates, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 2/3 rows of trees and 16 more or less in a row. So that gives you an idea how a cherimoya nut can go crazy. Also, George has a big planting of cherimoyas. He's been sort of Mr. Cherimoya up in North County for a long time. And I remember one year when there was a fruit fly problem, and the fruit had to stay on the property. A lot of us capitalized on that, and we went up to George's place and we had a cherimoya pig out. We enjoyed his fino de jete, not, what other varieties, George? we ate cherimoyas until we couldn't eat anymore, and seeds and signwood and whatnot. Also, George is responsible for, I think, getting started the Cherimoya Association.
Well, I was involved.
He was involved in it anyhow, I think deeply involved. And they met last February. They meet once a year. If you're interested, I can give you the name of the president, the chairperson, and the phone number. And next spring, you want to participate, you just give him a call. His name is Scott Van der Kar, K-A-R. And the phone number is area 805-684-7900. Another long time ago regular member of CRFG is Wayne Guidry. You want to raise your hand, Wayne? Wayne brought in some different varieties of fruits, some carambolas as well. And I believe we have around 20 trees or so.
Cherimoyas, I'm down to 25, and I have 11 different varieties.
Okay, 11 different varieties down to 25. Maybe next year we can organize a visitation or something, a field trip, and check things out firsthand. Hopefully, we keep track of Wayne. Haven't seen him for a while. Let me see. Everybody knows David Archer back there, the Bonita Creek Nursery down in Bonita Creek. He has some different cherimoya trees that he's going to be selling with the CRFG club. And David donated some trees that we grafted last year. This tree was frozen down to the ground a few years ago. I mean, down to the ground level, and these shoots came up. So I put on 3 grafts of a new variety called Campas, which is a super duper new variety from Spain. I don't know why people put all the same varieties on all 3 grafts. I guess we did all. Apparently, we pruned a Campas tree and we used the signwood. Anyhow, this one also is a doubleton. This one didn't take. This one did. And I was thinking that I could put a graft or whatever anybody likes if they want to. We thought we could auction off these 2 trees. And then, if we have time, I was going to graft. Cherimoyas are easy to graft. Some of those trees and put them on the table or whatever. Okay, at this point, I don't know if we have time to. Where's Tom? Tom, more or less, how much time do we have?
How much time do we have? Good half hour, 40 minutes, something like that.
Okay. If you like, I'll read this little blurb that I put together generally, and then I know George was, he told me he would be ready to answer questions, but he thought that would suffice on his part. I don't know, is there somebody else, Wayne, also, if you want to contribute, maybe I'll just go ahead and read this thing fast, and then we can hear from some of the other old-time growers. Okay, the March-April edition of this year's Fruit Garter presents a good description of the different annonas popular for human consumption. Most Annona species require a more tropical climate than ours. The guanabana, also called soursop, the Annona muricata, is popular south of the border in making delicious ice cream and refreshing drinks called refrescos. I know Paul Fisher had a tree that survived 2 or 3 years before it crapped out. It doesn't like our cold winters. The Annona squamosa, known as the sweet sop or sugar apple, is a small tree that thrives in tropical and more moist lowland areas. The people from Asia, the Philippines, and so forth, they are familiar. Annona to them is the Annona squamosa, the sugar sop or sweet sop. They call it atis in the Philippines, I know. Fortunately for us in Southern California, the best Annona, the cherimoya, Annona cherimola, originated in drier and higher mountains of the foothills and valleys of Ecuador, Bolivia, Peru, Chile, and so forth. Consequently, the cherimoya will thrive in our cool coastal strip from Santa Barbara south. I know there are a lot of cherimoya grown in around Ventura. So it's happy with our dry, semi-desert climates, but it requires some cool. It doesn't grow, they can't grow it in Florida, for example. In Hawaii, they can only grow the cherimoya if they have some mountain slopes or something like that, get some altitude. Southwestern Spain has large acreage of the cherimoya plantings. Their Fino de Jete was their main cultivar for a long time. And George has been growing that for quite a while, and we all like it. Reportedly, the cherimoya has become Chile's national fruit. Florida cannot grow the cherimoya, Hawaii only at the higher and drier altitudes away from the coast. Some CRFG members have selected good cultivars alongside. People from Southern Asia and the Philippines often confuse the cherimoya with the sweet sop, the Annona squamosa, or the ate moya, a cross of the two species. The ate is the name in Portuguese, plus the moya from cherimoya gives us ate moya. The ate moya seems to thrive here and in Florida, Hawaii, the Philippines, etc. So the people from those areas, it's not the cherimoya that they're referring to when they say Annona. Many years ago, Leo Manuel crossed the African pride ate moya with a cherimoya and selected 3 seedlings from this cross. They each produce different looking fruit with generally smoother skin surface than the ate moya has. One seedling has fewer seeds and a light yellow flesh. Leo brought in, where's Leo? He brought in some examples of his fruit, and I left them on the table over there. I don't know if they're still there. And you can see one of them has a real nice smooth surface, and the others look a little bit more like the ate moya. So they're...
I'm not Leo. He's cuter. This is, says number 1 on it.
Is that the one that has the few seeds and yellow, sort of yellowish flesh?
Two. 3. Get really clever names, Leo.
best flavored cherimoya? This is a common question, and it's hard to answer. Unless each fruit is at the equivalent ripeness and maturity when picked, comparisons by a tasting panel are difficult. Long-term experience by a grower or cherimoya aficionado would probably give the most valid opinion. The South Coast Field Station has all these different varieties, and there are new varieties released recently from Spain and South America, which are becoming available in some of the nurseries. Some CRFG members have selected good cultivars from their own seedlings. George Emmerich named one of his after his wife, Natalie, so it's called Nata. And it's a nice, fine fruit with a little, some protuberances sometimes, right? But it's a nice, good, tasty fruit. Rudy Halusa, where was he living when he was?
Well, most of his cherimoyas were out in north of
Temecula?
Fallbrook.
Okay, not Fallbrook. Anyhow, Rudy Halusa originated one that's quite tasty called El Bumpo. And if you see the fruit, you know why it's called El Bumpo. It's got plenty of bumps on it. Libby is another one of his, and he selected one called Villa Park, or Villa Park, which is very nice.
His home was in Villa Park.
Pardon?
He lived in Villa Park.
Villa Park is where he
most of
lived?
the time.
Okay. George Merzbacher and his son Dario have contributed different selections. They have their plantings up there by Camarillo. I like my Sabor and Big Sister seedlings. One has nubbies, and the other one is nice thumbprint, smooth surface. Cultural practices. If your tree is losing its leaves in the spring, it's not dying, it's merely molting. Now is the most logical time to prune, shape, or graft. Any style of graft is easy and successful if you match the cambiums of the scion with the rootstock. A simple splice graft even usually takes. The thick bark stores quite a bit of starches, so grafting is easier. Parafilm or a coating of tree dock protects the scion from drying out. Shaping the tree. It's sort of hard to shape the initial tree because the buds are sort of opposing on a young tree, and it wants to fan, get sort of fan. So it takes some time to develop a nice structure to your tree. Another thing is that some people train it to be like an umbrella. Get it up and then droop down so that you can hand pollinate and prune and pick with ease. And hand pollination is sort of a difficulty. If it's real tall, you can't get to it. Now, I haven't pollinated for many, many years, and I find that some varieties, when they get older, they form their own canopy. And if you have some nice humid weather, there is overlap of the male stage and female stage. The female stage, when it's just starting to open, you can spread the petals apart and jab down some pollen that you collect from a bloom that's hanging open. I don't know if maybe I can do a fast graph and finish this tree. There's one variety that we collected called Selma that has a pink fresh on the outside. And that might be interesting to somebody. Would you and George like to say a few things in addition to my blurb?
Okay, I think for me, I think what's good is Dr. White is probably my most prolific trees on my property. They get pretty large, somewhere, I think they're probably, I got them about where they're about 20 feet, about maybe 15, 20 feet in diameter. That's why I'm down to like 25 is because I don't know what I was thinking, you know. I was thinking 12 feet apart and now you're just, it's a jungle, so.
Where is your property?
It's Mount Helix. So, what I like about them is that they produce large fruit. I don't really, I got out there and I used to pollinate, another way I used to pollinate, and I used to collect it, but now what I do is I used to take the pollen, you'll find males and females also in the same brand. So I'd lick the little brush, paintbrush, and get some of the pollen off the male, and I'd just stick it in the female. And so just dab there, and then I got to the point where I just started lifting up the petal and just kind of moving it around and just scraping some of the pollen over the cone part and just leaving it at that. But I find that the white, the booth, and the pears seem to pollinate themselves. And some of the other ones, like the Spain and Big Sister and some of the other varieties, you kind of have to do a little pollinating too.
What varieties did you say are more self-pollinating?
The Dr. White, the booth, and the Pierce.
Darker white or blue?
Really, the whole idea of self-pollinating on cherimoya is plan on hand pollinating, and if you get self-growth, you're lucky. That's going to vary year to year depending on humidity. It's going to depend on microclimate of where you live. It's going to depend on many variables. In some years, you might get a really good crop. Other years, you might get nothing at all. And you know, it's better to plan on hand pollinating and be pleasantly surprised rather than count on them being self-fruitful and getting nothing.
Right. I think at my point is what do you do when you start getting hundreds of pounds of cherimoya? You know, it's just
Go to farmer's market.
you stop going. I'm not going to pollinate anymore. So, I think the younger trees probably find yourself pollinating more after they get so big. It's just like.
When they get large, the canopy holds enough humidity under the canopy
Right.
to keep the female stage receptive long enough for the male stage to overlap. And that's true. Larger trees do have more humidity under that canopy.
Right.
George, didn't they used to put micro sprinklers underneath the canopy sometimes too?
Yeah, I don't think that that's particularly very
So those three partially self-fertile varieties, self-pollinating varieties, which ones do you think they have good taste?
I personally like the Dr. White. It puts out large fruit. I think I had some pictures of stuff a long time ago when we had this. They pulled the stuff out of the zoo. Here's one that I had on a scale which is 3 pounds, and I've had some that are bigger. So a 3-pound fruit, it can be, you know, about this tall and about that big around. So it's pretty hard to eat.
I've had Dr. White between 5 and 6 pounds.
Right, they just get enormous, and it's
It's one of the most rugged trees.
right.
However, in my area, they did
Yeah.
some years, they would be for the first of the year, they would practically all white and lose a lot of them. So I gave up on Dr. White.
self-pollinate more than any other tree in my yard. And the booth and the pears, I would say, follow right behind. Anybody might have, yeah.
On a relatively young tree, how much weight is the kid branch can support? How many roots want to leave on and how far apart would you want to take them?
Oh, gosh, they're pretty tolerable. Don't you find, Tom, that on a young tree, they don't really put out huge mega fruit? I noticed that you usually have to get substantial size to get gigantic fruit.
Yeah, the smaller trees don't put out real large, and the branches are very pliable and flexible, so breaking is not a common problem.
Yeah.
How long before they fruit?
I think that varies in the tree. A lot of times you can get fruit within a couple of years. So, but I know once they get big, you'll have some season, like Tom says, like I'll have some years where I have so much fruit I don't know what to do with, and then other years it's a little lighter, So.
Grafted cherimoya trees usually start flowering within their second year, and then they get fruit, soon after that. George, did you have some things that you wanted to mention to the group, or?
Well, I'll try to answer any question.
Okay. Would you like to open it up?
My voice doesn't carry very well.
Hey, Tom, use the mic, please.
Can you hear me back there?
The mic.
Okay, why don't we open up the floor to any questions that folks might have, and if anybody has questions, feel free.
You had mentioned, you had said before there were 3 self-pollinating varieties, Dr. White, and then I couldn't understand the other 2.
Booth and Pierce.
Repeat the question.
She was asking that, at least in my experience, I find that the Dr. White, the Booth, and the Pierce seem to be my most prolific trees on the property. I have 11 different varieties now, and they seem to produce more than any other variety, so they work well.
And George, have you found any to be more self-fruitful?
I don't think that you can make a generalization for this whole area.
Right.
I find that there's a fruit which likes your particular area. My recommendation to most anybody is that if you're going to have a half a dozen trees, plant a half a dozen different varieties and observe them. They're easy to graft over, and if you have one you like that likes your place, why you can keep it. Now I've almost abandoned several different kinds. And I was telling them the white. I found that in my location, the white tends to split. It's about long in December, early January. I had one year that I lost the whole crop. Just sometimes it split wide open.
Is that due to more watering, or?
That could have been. Maybe it was something I was doing. That's a problem. So yeah, I think because the tree is not native to this area, you're probably better off to study it a bit and decide what's best for your particular location. I take some opposition to what you were told about grafting to be hand pollinized. For instance, at my place, I observed that the female plant flowers open at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and they may usually will go clear over till the next afternoon before they're open. And at my place, the male flowers open about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Most of those flowers then have been opened since the morning before, not that particular morning. If you, the way I operated on my little grow, I had about 100 trees, and I grafted. I colonized from about 5 o'clock till about 8 in the evening every night. I chose to visit every tree once a week, and that usually took about 4 nights a week. So I got to every tree. I collected the pollen at the same time I was grafting. You'll find that some varieties will have all male one night, and the next night they'll have all female. And that will vary with varieties. You have several varieties. You may have one variety that has, and it seems to run with the trees. There are quite a few. Not if you have 6 trees of one variety, they may very well all like the same.
What you hear George saying is that there's variations depending on climate, depending on variety.
How close you are to the beach.
So even the one tree can behave differently, as he says in his area they were delayed. Some areas they may be earlier. So there's still things we're learning.
So I think it takes the individual to study his own particular case. And I would suggest you plant a number of trees or a number of grafts on one tree. That's a tree with 3 or 4 grafts is not the ordinary, really.
Okay, and that's a great opportunity. That's a great thing, George. You have a tree, chance to get a tree of 3 or 4 grafts, and you find out which one does best, and then you just let that one take over.
Well, yeah, you can just, like this tree that we're going to have 3 or 4 on, you just chop it off with the graft in a couple of years.
Keep the one that does well for you.
And put the best one on there.
Once the tree begins blooming, how many days or weeks is the bloom cycle before you're done pollinating?
Question was, how long does the tree in bloom for? How many weeks? How many months does it bloom for?
Well, I think again, that probably depends on your location. My location is Albrook. I got blooms about the middle of June, and they were blooming still in October.
For you, Wayne, how long? What are your?
You got several weeks. Yeah, I think that in the blooming stage. Yeah, I think there's several weeks to in the blooming stage.
And as you pollinate during those weeks, then the fruit are going to develop in a similar range of weeks from the ripening?
Yes, that's one of the advantages to hand pollinating. Everyone was saying if you pollinate once a week for that bloom period, can you extend your harvest season? Yeah. And yes, absolutely. That's an advantage to hand pollinating.
By pollinating, say in mid-June, we probably get fruit toward the end of November or early December. The September, October pollinating will actually mature in April or May, or even June following. So it extends the period through the winter months a little bit.
I was going to say, I think when you have different varieties, that I notice that I extend my fruiting season for a longer period of time, because I'll have some varieties that will come out earlier, and some will extend, like I'll have cherimoys 4 or 5 months later or something. So if you're going to put some varieties in, try a few different varieties, and some will extend longer.
I heard you try several, as you said.
Do you notice any difference in hand pollinating to get larger fruit or not?
Generally, you get larger fruit because you spread the pollen around the fruit, and you get the size of the fruit depends pretty much on the extent of the pollination anyway, because each seed has associated with it a certain amount of heat. So now I used to think that if I had fruit
say on one branch you might have an overabundance of triage? Do you take off the smaller ones and leave the bigger ones?
When I'm pollinating, I pollinate everything I
Exactly,
reach.
yes.
And if too many of them set, I send them later on.
Here's some pictures of some in my yard, and you can see my hand here, but you can see that there's several on here, and usually I don't take them off. I mean, they're already on there, so I just let them grow. And they're usually not a problem, and you can see there's, right all together, there's 3 different sizes. One's about a softball, there's a baseball, and there's a one about the size of a golf ball.
Yeah, oftentimes getting fruit is more of a problem than thinning fruit.
Yeah. But you leave the golf balls right on.
Yeah, I leave it all on because this one I'll end up picking, and then this one, and then this one. So that I was probably pollinating at this stage because I was getting in different stages.
A couple more questions, and then we'll have a taste of this.
Do you prefer to use chemical fertilizers or things like compost or none at all, with just mulch? How do you like to treat your trees?
Mainly I use mulch, but I had no objection to anything else. In fact, I did do some just chemical fertilizer in the water. So I don't know, I've chosen on it. I had tried to have a feel for the trees. If they look good, we're getting enough.
I also mulch. I don't use any chemicals, so mulch.
But I usually have plenty of mulch because I prune pretty vigorously. And then chop
Rooting?
No, just grow it from seed.
Question was regarding rooting cuttings on cherimoya. I know of no one that has had any success rooting cuttings or air layers. Air layers are, I've heard of a couple of successes, but not usually. How about you, George?
I never done it. I tried a few times.
Graft.
Typically, they're grown from seed and then grafted.
Yeah, it's too easy to grow them from seed. It'll take 2 years from seed to get to the point where you want to graft them usually. But mine are always from seed.
One more.
I don't have a question, but lately worked the horses on the garden road, which is extension of the Covey Road, and she pays a big money for somebody to take the horse manure away. So if somebody needs or wants a horse manure, she has it in some kind of buckets like this, and it's a fresh manure, it needs to be aged. And I'll give you phone number if you want to.
Now we can put it in the website around the. One more question.
Can you talk a little about the other anonas that you've had experience with? I got no idea.
I've tried most of the ones that they mentioned here, and
One thing that
the only one other than cherimoya that doesn't good at all, I think that's Adamoya. Here, as they said, the sweet sop tends to be more too tropical. Really, one olive isn't.
Okay, last.
It's worth waiting.
Just one more thing. The only other one you can really grow is Atramoya. And if you have a choice between the Atramoya and the cherimoya, go with the cherimoya because the Atramoya is kind of I find it very bland. It's not as sweet.
A little more watery flavor.
Yeah, it's just you know, it's interesting. It's a neat looking fruit. It looks very much just like a cherimoya tree. I mean, you know, so very much the same. In case of the fruit side by side, I hope we have some Atramoya here.
we have lots of Adamoya in the sampling, and you'll recognize it right away.
Yeah.
They have big, beautiful trees, big, beautiful fruit that we collected up at the South Coast Fuel Station. And
I would like to mention Ed Hamilton brought up that our parent organization, CRFG Inc., has a website that makes available to all our members fruit facts. And on that website, you can download fruit facts on cherimoya that has great detailed information on growing cherimoya, culture of cherimoya, and lists all the great varieties that are available out there, many of them being developed by our members. So if you'd like additional information on cherimoya, it's readily available from the California Rare Fruit Growers up in Fullerton. Great opportunity. They have many other fruit fact sheets as well, but take advantage if you'd like to learn more about cherimoya. All right, well with that we're going to get ready for our fruit tasting here. If you have gotten a evaluation ticket, we'll be getting up and doing that in just a moment. Anyone who came in tonight wearing their name badge, you have received a orange ticket for the opportunity table, and we will draw that number right now, and they get first pick of the plants on the opportunity table. So there's a great incentive to wearing your name badge to the meetings. And if you don't have a name badge, you have an opportunity to order one tonight. And after that, then we will be having the fruit tasting and evaluations. The winning number for the name badges was number 181595. So you can pick out anything you like up here. And who's running the fruit tasting? Do you have guidelines, rules? What do you want to tell them about the fruit tasting?
Okay, the plates, the individual plates are to be evaluated. Everybody is supposed to use toothpicks. There are little golf pencils to register your scores. Cielo? It's numbered from 1 to how much? No, I mean on the score. Yeah, but evaluating. 1 is 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1 is very good. 1 is the best. 2, not so good. 3, down to 4, ain't so good.